After the burial, Damilola cornered Funmilayo, angrily scolding her. Funmilayo, I never knew you were such a heartless woman. How could you poison your own husband and allow Oluremi take the fall for it? How can you even live with that? She questioned. Once upon a time, there was a village called Ajagun. The people of Ajagun were very peaceful and prosperous. Among them was Babajide, a very kind and hard-working man. Babajide had three wives, Damilola, Funmilayo, and Oluremi. Damilola was the first, followed by Funmilayo, while Oluremi was the last. Babajide loved all his three wives, but Oluremi was his favorite for obvious reasons. Oluremi was the only one who bore him a female child. Funmilayo and Damilola had four male children each, but Babajide, unlike other men in the village, preferred to have more female children than male. The moment Oluremi gave birth to her daughter, Abike, Babajide's love and attention shifted from his 8 sons to his newborn daughter, Abike. He showered her all the love and care in the world, treating her like an egg. He equally extended the same love and attention to her mother, Oluremi, which made her extremely happy. But the other wives and their children were not happy. They felt abandoned as Oluremi and her daughter Abike had entirely taken their husband and father away from them. At first, they said to themselves, this was just a temporary phase. When the euphoria of having a daughter wears out of him, he will come to his senses. Unfortunately for the other wives and their children, the euphoria never wore out of Babajide. Abike, now 8 years old, was still her father's favorite child and Oluremi his favorite wife. There was hostility, jealousy, and hatred brewing in Babajide's once peaceful household. Oluremi, in her wisdom, would often beg her husband to also show the other children and their mothers the same love and care he showered on her and her daughter. But Babajide would tell her, my darling wife, you worry yourself too much about other people. They'll be all right. At least, they have all enjoyed their fair share of my attention and love in the past. Now is your turn. Oluremi wouldn't stop there. Whenever she went to the market, she would buy plenty of gifts for the other children and wives, telling them Babajide asked her to give it to them. But that angered the other wives the more. Remy, you think you are the special one? Let's see how long that will last. Funmilayo would say to her furiously. Damilola on her own would always tell her, Oluremi, the same way you came in and turned our husband against us and our children is the same way another woman will come in and do same to you. The jealousy, hostility, and bitterness did not end with the wives alone. The children, too, felt bad that their father was not giving them the attention they deserved. So, they took it out on Abike, who was only 8 years old and did not really know what was going on. They never allowed her play with them. Instead, they treated her like an outsider. Akintunde, the oldest of them, was the only one who treated Abike like a sister. He would often quarrel with his other siblings and his mother for taking out whatever grievances they had with Oluremi and their father on innocent Abike. Because of the way Akintunde cared for and protected her, Abike became very fond of him, seeing him as the only older brother she truly had. As time passed, the jealousy and hostility in Babajide's home turned into enmity. It was then he realized he had made a huge mistake, channeling all his love and attention towards Abike and her mother at the expense of his other wives and children. But then, It was too late to turn back the hand of time. He tried everything within his power to get his family back together in peace, but at this time they had gone past making peace with Abike and her mother. All they were thinking of was to get rid of both mother and child. Damilola and Fumilayo tried severally to frame Oluremi so Babajide could send her away, but kept failing because Babajide, being a wise and cautious man, always saw through their schemes. One fateful day, Fumilayo called Damilola, the oldest wife, and told her, "Now that all our plans have failed, I think the only thing we can do to get our husband back is to get rid of Oluremi and her witch of a daughter permanently." Damilola, with a surprised look on her face, asked her, "Fumi, what do you mean by get rid of them permanently?" Fumi gave her a stern look and said, "To kill them, of course." "Ha!" she shouted in disbelief. "How can you suggest such a thing?" she questioned. "Do you know the consequences of taking a life in this village?" she questioned. Fumilayo smiled and said to her, "Who's saying we are going to kill them? They are going to get themselves killed. That's all we need to ensure," she continued. "I have a plan. The next time it is Oluremi's turn to cook for our husband, we are going to put a deadly portion in his food. A little portion to make him unconscious for some days, that's all." Damilala did not give in to her evil plan. Rather, she cautioned her to desist from such wicked plan. But Fumilayo already had her mind made up. Nothing was going to stop her from executing her plan. 2 market days later, when it was Oluremi's turn to cook for her husband, she prepared a very sumptuous plate of ewedu and amala for him. While she was still in the kitchen preparing the food, she heard her daughter crying uncontrollably outside the compound. She rushed out to see what happened to her. On getting there, Abike told her Tayo, Fumilayo's last son, hit her with a stick and ran away. Oluremi consoled her, wiping her tears, and brought her to the kitchen with her. Meanwhile, while all that was going on, Fumilayo, who had planned with her son Tayo to hit Abike in order to distract her mother, had already sneaked into the kitchen and added the portion she got from a powerful medicine man from a distant village to the food Oluremi was preparing for her husband. Before Oluremi finished cooking, Abike, who was exhausted from her crying, was already sleeping on the stool she was sitting. Her mother took her to the room to sleep, then served her husband his food. Babajide, who hardly ever ate anything without sharing with his daughter, called out for Abike to come and join him to eat, but her mother told him she was asleep. She narrated everything that happened with Tayo to him. Babajide ate alone and told her, "Keep the remaining for Abike and bring her to me when she's awake. Let me take a look at her to make sure she's okay." After the food, Babajide went to his room to rest when he suddenly started feeling excruciating pain in his stomach. He called out for Oluremi, who rushed in to meet her husband on the floor coughing blood. She rushed out crying and calling for help. Fumilayo was the first to arrive at the scene. She shouted, "Oluremi, what have you done to my husband?" Oluremi was shocked to hear Fumilayo call out her name in the midst of such chaotic situation. Before long, the whole compound was filled with other villagers all trying to make sense of what was happening. The village medicine man was quickly called to attend to Babajide. When he got in, he examined him thoroughly, then came out and declared he has been poisoned. Everyone was shocked to hear that. Babajide's brother Olagoke asked rhetorically, Who could have done this to my brother? Fumilayo wasted no time in replying him. I'm sure it's Oluremi and her witch of a daughter that poisoned my husband. Everyone turned to her with curiosity on their faces. Adegoke asked her, Fumi, why would you make such accusation against Oluremi and her innocent daughter? Who said she's innocent? She asked angrily. She was with her mother in the kitchen when she prepared and served him the last meal he had a moment ago. Everyone turned to Oluremi and her daughter. Remi, what Fumi just said, is it true? Adegoke asked curiously. As Oluremi was trying to explain herself, the medicine man came out and announced to the crowd that Babajide had given up the ghosts. There was pandemonium in the compound. Oluremi was scared for her life and that of her daughter. She knew the consequences if it turned out to be true, that the food she gave her husband was poisoned, but she didn't know what to do. Before long, the whole village gathered in Babajide's compound. The rumor that Oluremi poisoned her husband had spread like wildfire across the entire village. To decide what should be done to Oluremi and her daughter Abike, the men dragged them both to the king's palace. On getting to the palace, the king asked Oluremi if she poisoned her husband. She answered, No, my king, how could I have poisoned my beloved husband? The king then asked Abike if she knew anything about the poison, to which she replied, No, my king. The king then asked, Aside your husband, who else ate from the food? Oluremi responded that the food was made for only him, so he was the only one that ate from the food. Fumilayo quickly interjected, My king, if I am allowed to speak. The king gestured that she should go ahead. She continued, My king, my husband hardly ever eats anything without sharing with his beloved daughter, Abike. Remi should tell us why she didn't allow her daughter eat the poisoned food with her father as she always do. The king then asked Oluremi to address the question raised by Fumilayo. Oluremi narrated everything that happened and how Abike was asleep when her father was eating. While all that was going on, the elders consulted among themselves and concluded that Oluremi and her daughter must eat the remaining food to prove their innocence. They brought their decision to the king's attention, so the king ordered some of the men to follow Oluremi home and bring the remaining food. When they got back, the king commanded Oluremi and her daughter Abike to eat the food in the presence of everyone. Oluremi cried and pleaded with the king and the elders, stating her and her daughter's innocence in the matter, but no one cared to hear her. All the men started shouting, Eat the food! Eat the food! The women, on the other hand, all knelt down, crying and begging the king to temper justice with mercy, but the men prevailed on him. The king declared there was no going back on his decision. They must eat the food to prove their innocence. When Oluremi saw that the king's decision was final, that they must eat the food, she cried and told everyone that indeed she poisoned her husband's food, but that Abike did not know anything about it. I lied to her father that she was asleep so she wouldn't eat from the food. I did all of this on my own, she confessed. The villagers exclaimed in disbelief. Fumilayo on her part was very elated, pointing at Oluremi, pretending to be hot. I knew this witch killed my husband. Why did you kill him, Remi? Why? She asked. Akintunde spoke up for the first time, trying to persuade the king to change his mind. My king, what if my stepmother did not poison my father? What if it was someone else? he asked. The king looked at him in surprise. Akintunde, the woman confessed to her atrocities in the presence of the whole village. That is enough to show she's guilty. Akintunde said further, but my king, what if she confessed only to save her innocent daughter from being killed? All I'm saying, my king, is for us not to make hasty decisions and crucify an innocent person while we let the actual killer walk away free. The king saw reason in what Akintunde said, but the men and elders prevailed on him. The king finally declared, the voice of the people is the voice of God. Oluremi must eat the food to prove her innocence or otherwise. With that, Oluremi was forced to eat the poisoned food. Few moments later, just like her husband, she started coughing blood and she fell down and gave up the ghost. While Fumilayo and the other men were jubilating that Oluremi's evil had caught up with her, some of the women were crying because they genuinely loved Oluremi for her kindness and peaceful nature. Akintunde, on the other hand, was petting his dear sister Abike, who was hit most with the loss of her father and mother the same day. In all of it, Damilola, the first wife, stood speechless, watching Fumilayo in disgust and anger because she knew Fumilayo was the one who poisoned the food. She couldn't say anything because she knew Fumilayo would rope her in. So, Babajide and his beloved wife Oluremi were buried side by side in his compound the following day. After the burial, Damilola cornered Fumilayo, angrily scolding her. Fumilayo, I never knew you were such a heartless woman. How could you poison your own husband and allow Oluremi take the fall for it? How can you even live with that? She questioned. Fumilayo, in her defense, said to her, since you were too afraid to do the needful, I had to do it for us all. And besides, I never intended for her husband to die, but now that it happened the way it did, someone had to be the scapegoat. So I don't see what you are ranting about. Abike, who was eavesdropping on their conversation, could not hold her tears. She cried out loud, drawing the attention of the women. Immediately, Fumilayo chased after her, but little Abike was too fast for her to catch. She ran to the village square where her older brother Akintunde was performing the final passage rites for their late father. She called him aside and narrated everything she overheard his mother and Fumilayo quarreling about to him. Akintunde was shocked. Are you sure of what you are saying, Abike? Akintunde asked curiously. She nodded in affirmation. Akintunde then told her, since Fumilayo saw you eavesdropping on their conversation, it is not safe for you to remain in this village because she'd go to any length to harm you. He told her to sit under the baobab tree by the village square and wait for him to finish the rites. Then he'll figure out what to do. While Abike sat under the tree, patiently waiting for her brother to decide her fate, she saw Fumilayo walking towards the village square looking all furious and agitated. Immediately, Abike took off running as fast as she could into the forest in order to evade her evil stepmother. Fumilayo, putting on an aura of calm, asked Akintunde if he had seen Abike around because everyone was looking for her at home. Akintunde, knowing what was going on, told her, no, I haven't seen her. When I left the house, she was in the compound with the other children. With that, Fumilayo continued her search for Abike. Akintunde became worried when he didn't see Abike sitting under the baobab tree. He figured she must have seen Fumilayo coming and ran away. He searched everywhere for her but couldn't find her. When Akintunde got home, he asked his mother if she had seen Abike. She told him no, that everyone was looking for her as well. He then told her everything Abike told him and asked his mother if those things were true. She said to him, no, they were not true. Akintunde didn't believe her, so he asked her further, Mama, if they were not true, then why is Fumilayo looking for her? And why is she missing? Damilola retorted, Akintunde, don't be foolish. How can you believe the words of a child over that of your own mother? But Akintunde knew too well not to argue with his mother. Even though he didn't believe anything she said, he had to let the matter die because truly he knew no one would believe the words of a grieving young child over that of two adults. Meanwhile, Abike, who had run very deep into the forest, was now very tired. She laid at the foot of a big tree and slept off. She woke up to the angry stare of a big black cat inside a hut in the middle of the night. Abike was very scared, so she let out a loud scream. An old woman quickly chased the cat away and said to her with a smile on her face, My daughter, don't be scared. It's just one of my naughty cats staring at you. Don't worry, it is harmless. Curiously, Abike asked, But Mama, where am I? The old woman told her how she saw her sleeping under the tree in the forest and figured she was lost, so she decided to carry her home. Abike asked further, Is this Ajagun village? The old woman laughed hysterically and said, Ajagun village? What business do we have with those evil people? This is Imoleayo. Ajagun is our arch enemy. Abike said, But Mama, I am from Ajagun. My people are not wicked except my stepmother. The old woman was surprised. You are from Ajagun? She asked curiously. Abike nodded. She then asked her about her wicked stepmother. Abike narrated everything that happened with her father and mother to the old woman. She took pity on her and assured her that she was going to grow up to become a very powerful woman, someone that the people of Ajagun would be afraid of. Abike didn't understand what the old woman meant, but she just smiled. The following day, Abike noticed in awe the number of cats in the old woman's hut. She asked her, Mama, what are you doing with so much cats? The old woman laughed and said to her, You are a very nosy young girl. Well, they are my pets, but not the kind of pet you are used to. Abike anxiously asked her, What kind of pets are they? The old woman told her not to worry. There is a lot she will learn from her if she remained with her for long. So, Abike, having nowhere else to go or anyone else to run to, remained with the old woman till she turned adult. Abike, who was now 18 years old, became very fond of the old woman. The woman raised her like her own granddaughter, and Abike called her grandma. One day, the woman sat Abike down and told her, Abike, my daughter, you are no longer a child. You are now a grown woman. Soon, men will be chasing after you. You must be very disciplined and smart. Abike was very emotional listening to her speak. She said to her, Grandma, I'll be a good girl, don't worry. I'll make you very proud. If not for you, I wondered what would have become of me. The old woman, not wanting to be emotional, changed the topic by asking Abike, Do you still want to know about my cats? Excitedly, Abike said, Yes, Grandma, I want to know everything. She gestured. You see the one over there? That is Adelabu, my late husband's immediate younger brother. When my husband died, he tried to take everything my husband left behind from me and throw me out of the house. So I turned him into a cat. Abike could not hold her laughter. She laughed so hard that tears began to drip from her eyes. Of course, Grandma wasn't expecting anything else. She didn't think an 18-year-old girl would believe she actually turned human into a cat. She continued, You see that one over there? That is Adekunle, a very heartless man who turned his wife to punching bags. I turned him to a cat when he decided to bring his madness close to me. Abigail laughed even harder this time around and said to her, Grandma, please stop making me laugh like a baby. The old woman, seeing Abike didn't believe anything she said, stopped and asked her, Abike, do you want me to teach you how to turn people to cats? Abike replied jokingly, Yes, Grandma. Please teach me so I can go to Ajagun and turn all the wicked men who killed my mother to cats. From that day on, the old woman started teaching her the magic, how to turn humans into cats. After several months of learning, Abike was able to turn humans into cats. It was then she realized the old woman wasn't telling her made-up stories, that indeed those stories were true. With her newfound power, Abike set out on her 19th birthday for her old village Ajagun to avenge her parents' death. On getting to Ajagun, Abike rented a hut in the outskirts of the village where she lived a quiet life. Every evening, she would go to the village square, hide herself in a corner watching the elderly men drink merrily. When they were drunk and were walking home, Abike would approach those walking alone, telling them they could come to her hut to have a good time with her. Foolishly, the men would always go with her. When they got to her hut, Abike would turn them into cats. She was doing this almost every night. Soon, there was pandemonium in the village. Most of the elderly men in the village were missing. Their families searched for them everywhere, but there was no trace of them. Meanwhile, Abigail had prepared a special cage for the cats inside her hut. She ensured none of the cats could ever come out of the hut. Sometimes she'd starve them, other times she'd flog them for no reason, telling them, This is Abike, the daughter of Oluremi, who you sent to her early grave because of your wickedness. I have come to take my revenge. As more men went missing, the king and the few men left in the village became very troubled. They consulted the oracle, and the oracle revealed the men were in the village, but that they were locked somewhere no one can trace. The people did everything they could, but to no avail. Instead, more men kept missing. The king declared curfew in the village. People were not allowed to go out of their homes once it's nightfall until dusk. Even with the curfew in place, Abike was still able to cat away the men and turn them to cats. She did not spare her 7 brothers except Akintunde, who had her back when she was a child. She put her 7 brothers in a separate cage and made their punishment more severe. When Abike finished dealing with the men to her satisfaction, she sent one of the king's guards, Juwon, to tell the king to gather the whole village at Babajide, her late father's compound, in 2 days. The king must ensure he is present at the meeting too if he ever wants to see the missing men alive, she said to him. The king was furious when Juwon delivered the message. What arrant nonsense, Juwon! Why would you bring such derogatory and disdaining message to me? He questioned. By the way, who is that riffraff of a child that had the guts to speak to her king like this? He asked. Juwon told him, her name is Abike. She said she is the daughter of Babajide and Oluremi. The king was surprised and shocked at the same time because everyone had concluded that Abike was dead since no one saw her after her parents' burial. He told Juwon to not mention to anyone that it was Abike that called for the gathering. Not knowing what to do, the king consulted with the few men remaining in the village, and they advised him to let go his pride and ego and do as the strange woman had requested. So, the king sent the town crier to announce to the entire village the meeting in Babajide's compound in 2 days, and that any villager who failed to attend would be severely dealt with. When the D-Day came, the whole village, including the king, gathered in Babajide's compound as commanded. Abike was the last to arrive for the meeting. When she came in, everyone was in shock. Is this not Abike, Oluremi's daughter? How come she's alive? They whispered to one another. Abike, looking radiant and beautiful, stood before the people, greeted the king, and asked that Fumilayo, her stepmother, be brought forward before the king. Fumilayo was quickly brought before the king. Abike said, I can see the look on your faces like you just saw a ghost. I am not a ghost. I am Abike, the daughter of Babajide and Oluremi. I am well and alive. Fumilayo didn't need any prophet to tell her what was coming next. She knew her time was up and there was no escaping this time around. Abike announced to the crowd that all the men missing in the village were safe and were with her. The villagers exclaimed in awe, Don't worry, I did not take your husbands from you. I only turned them to cats and locked them up in a cage inside my hut. The people looked dazed. You turned men into cats? The king asked rhetorically and burst into laughter. Some of the other villagers laughed along too. When the laughter died down, Abike stretched the short staff she was holding towards one of the elders sitting beside the king, and immediately the man turned into a cat. The king and other villagers were shocked. Some took to their heels in fear. The village medicine man looked in awe, trying to process what he just witnessed. Abike told the king, Now that you know I'm not bluffing, this is my only demand. I will set all the men free if only my stepmother here, Fumilayo, confess her role in my parents' death. The people looked at Fumilayo in shock. You have heard the young woman, the king said to Fumilayo. Left with no other choice, Fumilayo confessed everything that happened, how she poisoned Babajide and framed Oluremi, leading to both of their deaths. The people could not believe what they just heard. The king declared, Oluwa Fumilayo, for this atrocity that you have committed, in accordance with the law of our land, you are hereby sentenced to death by stoning. Everyone but Abike applauded the king's decision. Abike pleaded with the king on her behalf to issue a lesser sentence like banishment. But the king told her, My daughter, I know you have a good heart, but this is beyond you. This is the law of the land. I have commanded it, and it must be obeyed. So, Fumilayo was taken to the evil forest and stoned to death. Abike released all the men back to their families as she had promised. She narrated everything that happened to her over the years to her eldest brother, Akintunde, who was very happy for her. Abike reconciled with her other siblings before leaving Ajagun for Imole to continue staying with the old woman until she later got married and moved to her husband's house. Thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel. Also, let me know what you think about this story in the comment section. Bye.